What's up, guys? Dylan here from 8 Deadly Sins. Welcome to Tarantula Thursday. Today I'd like to talk about one of my favorite arboreal species, the Psalmopoeus ecclesiasticus, the Ecuador olive tree spider. I'm going to be giving you a little bit of husbandry info, giving you a little bit of background on the actual species. I'll be giving you a little bit about like how I keep them alive and my breeding experience with them. Kind of, down in the deeps of this particular species. So there's a lot to this video, so let's get started. All right, guys, so Psalmopoeus ecclesiasticus, first described by Reginald Innes Pocock. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. However, he described a lot of Psalmopoeus down in South America. They come from, like I said, they come from the Chaco region of Ecuador. So where it's hot, humid, rainy, basically all the time. Even when you travel there, they tell you, to kind of bring appropriate clothing because it's going to be hot, humid, rainy. It rains quite a bit down in that region. They are a smaller species, so they only reach probably 4.5 to 5 inches max. However, they're really cool looking. Let me grab my female here for you. I could show you. So this is a girl that we'll be rehousing today into this. This is a 8x8x12 Zilla creatures enclosure. You really don't need to go any bigger than that, especially for this species, because they are a little bit smaller. Let me see if I could get her to do a walkabout. And then I can show you kind of up close with what they look like. This girl has been bred in the past. However, she dropped me 3 infertile egg sacs, and that seems to be a common issue with this species. They have a lot of issues with fertility for whatever reason, but she is a young female, so I'm hoping for better luck next time when she's ready again. Gonna let her get through a molt. I don't condone handling. However, this girl, as you can see, she's very well behaved. She never threw me any kind of threat pose, never gave me any issues. And as you can see, her coloring, this is why they call them the Ecuador olive, because they get this olive black, gorgeous color. I mean, these guys are very, very pretty. Very underrated in the hobby. And they don't get bred enough. Again, it's probably most likely because of the infertility issue. I'm hoping to be successful one of these days. When she drops me a sack, I'm hoping to, have some success and, not have to rely on other breeders to supply me with these guys. So I'll have my own. So we're going to put her back in this cup for right now. Slings of these, they have kind of a tree pattern, almost like what you see on like Psalmopoeus. This is a sling / small juvenile that I have. This guy is, or girl, I don't know what it is yet. It's available on my website. However, you could see the patterning. You can see they jump. But that tree pattern is really, really cool. And because they are a tree spider, they do like to jump. So kind of like your Avix and other Psalmopoeus, they will take a leap if they feel the need. However, this guy or girl, I don't know, is chilling out for right now. They are a little bit skittish as slings, so not a big deal, but again, I don't condone handling. However, I just wanted to show you guys for this video. Not all spiders are mean. Not all spiders are angry out to get you. Don't believe none of the Hollywood that you watch. The only time they will bite is if they feel threatened. And right now, he's just kind of on a walkabout. So this is the small juvenile slash or sling slash small juvenile. This is the last one that's available on my website. So if you're interested in this guy, feel free to hit my website. I'll leave the link below. Okay. And put him back in there and we'll get started on the rehouse. So this will be one continuous video. You know, not like other videos where there's cuts. However, it is an awkward angle because this is what I have to work with. Maybe in the future I will get, you know, kind of a like a desk or something like that where I can show better angles, but for now this is what I have. So first we'll do the substrate. You know, that's kind of the bread and butter. What you want from your substrate is kind of like this. See how it clumps together? That's what you want. You don't want it soaked. You don't want water coming out. You just want it to kind of clump together like this. And that's the perfect consistency for this species. Because like I said, they do come from the Chaco region of Ecuador. So they come from that rainy, where the ground's always saturated. However, if you think about it, the ground outside will be more like this because all that water has other places to go rather than in an enclosure where if you put a lot of water in it, it only has a little bit of area to go to. So you'll want it to clump up like that. See what I'm saying? But when I'm squeezing this, you know, no matter how tight I squeeze it, there's no water that drips out. And that's exactly the consistency that you want for this species. So let me grab a cup. Go ahead and scoop some dirt into here. So this is just, you know, your base layer for every spider, your typical substrate. I use Jungle Mix. I tried to use Reptisoil, but I don't like the way the water drains in Reptisoil. It's a great substrate, don't get me wrong, it's great for plants. It doesn't really mold, but the water drainage kind of made me, you know, stop using it. I just went back to Jungle Mix because this stuff here, it's made with peat moss, fir, a little bit of sphagnum, and it's great for humidity, you know, humid species. So we're gonna tap that down like that. Let's move this stuff, huh? Move this out of my way. And put it up here. So we're gonna, you don't want to press it, you know, you don't want to press it like too much. You just want to give it a good pat down. Probably put more substrate in here. So these guys, they will make little web socks back behind the cork bark, just like any other Psalmopoeus, really. They will make those little, I call them web socks, but I don't know what the real term for them is. They will make those back behind the cork tube. So you'll want to give them a little bit of depth, you know, to kind of dig up what they need to dig. Okay. Next thing, I have a piece of cork bark here. It's a perfect size for her. Nice piece of cork. I'm going to lay that right here in the corner. So what I do is I dig it out right here. I'll press the cork down into the dirt, and then I'll dig it out. And that'll give me kind of a outline of, you know, where that cork needs to be. So I can dig it out and then push all the dirt back in, make sure that's nice and secure. She can fit easily behind there, which is great. Wipe off my hands. All right, so next up is the moss. Let's put this back so I'm not tripping. So the moss, what I like to do is I like to grab an extra cup, right? Watch this. This works fantastic for moss. Okay. So all this is the terrarium moss. You know, you guys all seen this before. Take some water. It's a cool little trick that I learned over the years. Take some water, pour it into a cup or a deli cup, don't matter. Pour it in there, right? Then you'll take your moss, take a good handful, just pop it in there. So I do this because I found out if you, you know, you get your moss set up and stuff like that in your enclosure, and then you just start spraying it, you're going to saturate everything. So what I like to do is just kind of dip it in some water like this. And it also gives you a good reason to give it a good rinse. That way you can, if there is dyes, this stuff doesn't have any dyes, but if you buy some moss does have like the green dye, it'll turn your spider green, unfortunately. It's not bad for them, but it'll turn your spider green for sure. I've seen it. Okay, so you just take it out like that. After you get it nice and saturated, give it a good ring. You know, like this. Get all the excess water out of there. And then you can work it open again. And we're just going to lay that. I mean, we're not going to be too picky here. Shout out to Dave Fisher. He's the master of enclosures. If you guys haven't checked his channel out yet, it's Dave's Beasties here on YouTube. He is one of my inspirations to build enclosures. Now, I don't use live plants because live plants don't do well here. In Colorado, it's really, really dry. So I tend to stay away from live plants. But if you are good with live plants and you want to set up a bioactive, this is one of the perfect species for that, because they will thrive off that humidity. They definitely love moisture in the air. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and this is, see what I mean? This is a fake plant, but hey, you know, it's better than nothing. We're going to go ahead and make a little divot here in the corner. And we're going to go ahead and cover that back up with the dirt and the moss. That'll give her some extra hiding room. So on the opposite side of the enclosure, here's the enclosure, by the way, for a nice close-up. So on the opposite side of the plant, I'm going to put the water dish. And I do that because if she's hiding over here, she's going to eat over here. Chances are she's going to if she finds that water dish, she's going to throw that bolus right on the water dish. Doesn't mean that she's not going to anyways, but I like to at least give her the benefit of the doubt to not fill up her water dishes with her leftover food. So I'm going to go ahead and put that water dish in there. I make sure they're nice and level. That way when you put water in it, it's not dumping all over the substrate. It's not making everything saturated. I've been pouring antifreeze since I was a child, so I know how to do that. For those mechanics out there, you know how tricky that is to pour antifreeze and oil into the filler tube in your car. And I've been pouring antifreeze for quite a bit of years, so kind of have that down pat. So I mean, there it is, guys. Plain and simple. I keep my enclosures pretty well simple. For those of you that have seen them in real life, you know that I don't really get too in depth with my enclosures. One day when I have more room and things like that, I'm going to look maybe into bettering myself in with bioactive enclosures, because I do think that live plants really look cool, and it creates like its own little jungle in there. It's a really cool effect, and I really do appreciate live plants, but I cannot keep them alive here where I live at the moment. It just doesn't happen. So I tried even with like pothos and things like that, like simple to keep alive plants. And I just, you know, you just can't, I can't do it. So more kudos to those that can do it. So we're going to introduce her to her new home. Once I get this lid off, this deli cup has like a, see the lid? It's like, it goes like inside the cup. So it's a little bit harder to get off than most deli cups. So as always, keep your cup here. We're going to just go ahead and coax her into her new house. There you go, baby. And she's going to go probably right behind that cork bark. And there she goes. She is a beautiful spider, though, you guys. These ecclesiasticus do not get enough love because they are, you know, one of the more rare Psalmopoeus in the hobby. They are also one of the smallest, you know, like I said, 4.5 to 5 inch, you know, that's not really a big spider. I mean, even Armenia, the Venezuelan sun tigers, they get, I've seen 6 inch on those before. My old female, she was just about 6 inches. She was a pretty big girl. So we're going to go ahead and toss the lid on here. I'm going to go ahead and put her up on the shelf. She can get settled in. And there you have it. And that's the Psalmopoeus ecclesiasticus. These guys were bred in the hobby. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but these guys were bred in the hobby for the very first time by Tom Patterson. Shout out to Tom Patterson. Also shout out to Frank Soma. I know Tom and Frank work together. They're kind of the OGs in the spider world. There's a lot of OGs that I have a lot of respect for. And those are two of the gentlemen that I do have a ton of respect for, that actually made the hobby kind of what it is today. All right, guys. So what did you think about that? That was a pretty quick video about how I rehoused the Psalmopoeus ecclesiasticus, the Ecuador olive tree spider. I hope you learned something today. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I'm going to leave all my links below. That way you can check out my store. I just released some new merch. I released my photography merch. Everybody that knows me knows I do photography. I'll be working on calendars pretty soon. So those will be out probably today, later today, and tomorrow I'll be working on those. So once those come out, feel free to check out my Facebook. I'll be dropping the information on there on how to get them and things like that for 2026. So yeah, I mean, Psalmopoeus, ecclesiasticus, pretty well straightforward. Keep them humid. They don't do well with dry substrate, kind of like other Psalmopoeus, like Panama Blondes, Venezuelan Sun Tigers, things like that. You can let those kind of dry out a little bit. Ecclesiasticus are a little bit different. You're going to want to keep those pretty well damp, you know, for the most part, constantly. That's why in the video I was showing you the substrate, when you squeeze it, it sticks together. You know, you got that damp substrate. That's what you need it to be pretty consistently for them to be happy and thrive, and things like that. So, well, guys, until next time, I'll see you guys next Thursday.